showcase. It's all locked up, and you can look at it and take pictures and ask questions all you want. When it's not there, it's locked in a vault. It doesn't come out into the air very often outside. It certainly doesn't come out in the sunshine. It's approximately 175 years old, give or take 5 or 10 years, as best anyone can estimate. It probably was part of Charles Ingalls' family. It's when they got it. Either that or he got it when he was a young man. Likely from a general store or a dry goods store or a feed store, an implement store, someplace that that he did business with. And it's kind of like the old S&H Scream stamps. You do enough business with us, at the end there's a rainbow, and they hold out a carrot. Do enough business with us, and you get a premium. And for a lot of rural folks, this was the premium. It probably came from a distributor back east somewhere, and they ordered it out of a catalog. These didn't cost a lot. This fiddle may have cost that merchant, I don't know, $2 or $3 or $4, $5 maybe, and they sold them for a little bit more than that. But that's what they used to entice the local farmers to do business with them instead of somebody else down the road. So that's probably where the fiddle came from. It was made most likely in Central Europe, Central and Northern Europe, in Germany or Czechoslovakia. It is a Nicholas Amati copy. Amati was an Italian maker in Cremona, Italy. He is the one that was the predecessor and mentor to makers like Stradivari and Guarneri and several other makers. So this would be a copy of an Amati, A-M-A-T-I, Italian violin maker. It's in remarkably good shape for being that old. It always surprises me when I get here and I take it out of the case. It's so light, and that's because the moisture content has changed a lot in all that time. So it doesn't have as much moisture in it as it once does. So it's kind of dried out a little bit. It's not in danger or anything like that. It can still be taken out and played and shown, but it's just always striking that it's so light. I imagine from looking at the fingerboard, there's a fair amount of grunge on there, and there's some rosin that got caked up because Paul probably didn't clean it off every time he played it, and that's probably some of his DNA there on the fingerboard, where he would sweat on it or get dirt on it. So it's starting to stabilize a little bit. Otherwise, I'd have to be tuning it all the time until it got stabilized. So after I'm through playing here, which will be in about 40-45 minutes, I'm going to leave some time so that I'll come down front, and you are more than welcome to come up and take pictures of it and have your picture taken with it. You can videotape it. You can videotape what I play here if you'd like. That's perfectly fine with me, and I think it's allowed by the park. I'm playing songs that are over 100 years old, so there's no issue with that. So please do come up and bring your youngins, or come up and have your picture taken with it, and we're glad to answer any of your questions. Okay, so I'm gonna play some of the tunes songs, actually, that were mentioned somewhere in the 9 books. Paul was it's a misconception that Paul was an old-time fiddler. He was not. Most people here in the Ozarks think of fiddle music. They think of fiddle players that do hoedowns and square dances and play bluegrass music or old-time dance music. And that's what we think, because that's what we've heard for the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years. When Laura and Almanzo moved to Mansfield, they lived here a long time. I think she started writing the books in 1932, and there were lots of fiddle music way back then. That was the most popular form of entertainment in a rural setting, was fiddle music. But 40, 50 years before that, when Charles Ingalls was learning how to play the fiddle, he was up north, and he didn't know what hillbilly fiddlers were. There was no such thing as country music or folk music. There wasn't any of that. There were tunes that came over from Europe, predominantly from the British Isles, Ireland and England and Scotland. And then there were popular tunes of the day. Most of the songs that are in the books, there's 127 songs mentioned in the books. A great many of those are popular songs. In other words, they were written in that era. And it's like if you, a real popular song was Pop Goes the Weasel. It is assumed that was Laura's favorite song because she, quote unquote, squealed with delight whenever Paul played it. But imagine going to your radio and turning the radio on and hearing Pop Goes the Weasel, and that was the big hit of the day. Well, they didn't have any kind of recording medium or electronic devices back then, of course. So music got passed down and learned by written sheet music, which Paul could read music, or you learned it from another fiddle player or another musician, and you learned the melody somehow, some way, and then you adapted it to the fiddle. That's what Paul did. I know he played some dances. The most famous one is the one in the Little House in the Big Woods, where they went to the grandparents' house and they had the sugar off, right? Remember that? And they moved the furniture aside and they all danced. Well, what he was playing was popular tunes of the day. Everyone recognized what the popular tunes were, and there may have been some tunes that came over from Europe, but those were not as plentiful as the popular tunes that he played. So there's a little background about what Paul played and how he played it, and the tunes that he played. They were not like what we hear today. It is thought that the tunes were represented in a quote-unquote fiddly kind of style because Laura had lived here for quite a number of years and had been influenced by what she heard here in the Ozarks as far as fiddle music goes. So when we think of fiddle music, we're seeing that through the lens of Laura having listened to fiddle music here in the Ozarks for 20 or 30 years. She was representing what she heard her dad doing, Paul, but she also, to make it literary and make it read, she presented it as him being a fiddle player when actually he was a pop musician.